Ha! We thought it was cats who had 9 lives. Not so fast, friends. Now we know a dog can too. The amazing story of Milagra coming up on this episode of the Rocky Point Podcast.
Welcome, Puerto Peñasco lovers. This is the Rocky Point Podcast with award-winning host Thomas Baldrick.
Hello, I'm Thomas Baldrick. Thank you as always for being with us. On this particular episode, I'm going to ask you for a little extra leeway and be patient. There may be some sweating that you see if you're watching the video on camera. I certainly could have picked a cooler place. You may hear some external noise, other than me, which many people think is noise, but Mother Nature's breezes may kick up from time to time. There may be cars passing by at high rates of speed from time to time. Yes, I could have picked a quieter place too. But I will tell you, I do not believe I could have picked a better place, because I am here at Tillotson Peak in the Arizona desert off of Arizona Route 85, because this is the scene where a dog owner believes a miracle happened. That, my friends, is why she named her newest family member Milagra, which in Espanol means miracle. The story of Milagra is a story of hope. I hold on to hope with both hands in my life. Hope has gotten me through some really difficult situations. Hope gives me a brighter outlook for the present and the future. I don't know where you are on hope, but I do think you will be inspired by this story. This also touches me as the story of a survivor. I had a nasty fall down a long flight of wooden stairs as a toddler, and then later on in life, in high school, I was in a terrible car accident and had my own near-death experience going in the tunnel through the white light and then coming back. The story of this survivor, though, is much different, and let me set the scene for you. A cute little dog was leaving Barb's rescue on her way to Tucson, where her forever home owners were waiting for her. A transporter was bringing the dog from Barb's across the border and was on Arizona 85, just about 8 miles north of the border, when they stopped for a potty break. Innocent enough, right? Seems like a good idea, the right thing to do. And it was. But a bad thing happened. The dog was named Sasso at Barb's rescue, and at the time, something spooked her. She ran off into the desert behind me. The transporter went after her, but could not catch her, and eventually had to turn around. He did everything possible in terms of letting people know as soon as possible where it happened, what happened. I found out about the incident shortly after it happened. I drove up and down this road looking for her. I immediately tracked down the owner, Lisa, and spoke to her on the phone. I told her I had contacted Pima County Sheriff's Office with someone I knew there, and they in turn, in a real nice gesture, contacted the county animal rescue to see what they could do. Lisa, the owner, had spoken to Border Patrol. The transporter had spoken to the people at the visitor center at Organ Pipe Cactus Monument. And then an army of Barb's Dog Rescue Angels went to Facebook to spread the word, went to the desert like I did to try to find the dog. Lisa and her husband came here from Tucson, but their options were limited in looking on protected national park land. It took me almost 6 hours to get home that day. I drove around this area up and down looking to see if I could see her. I stopped at areas where you could pull over and looked for her and called her name. Nothing. It was mid-June during that brutal heat wave. It was probably close to 120 degrees here in the Organ Pipe National Monument. It was dangerous. It was dangerous for humans, and it was dangerous for dogs. When you hear about dog lost in the Arizona desert, it doesn't sound good, does it? When you hear about a dog lost in the Arizona desert in the extreme heat, well, that's about as bad as it can get. So for all of those interested in finding Sasso, every second was like a minute. Every minute was like an hour. Every hour was like a day. And every day was like a week. Most people thought the worst. And how can you blame them? The elements. Coyotes can't read the signs that say, do not feed them. They have to eat. And a small dog for a wild animal in the desert? Fast forward a little over a week to Sunday, June 27th, 2021. I practically fell out of my chair when someone messaged me and said the dog had been found. When we come back, you'll hear from the family who made the surprising rescue, and you'll hear from the family who got their little miracle doggie. This is the Rocky Point Podcast.
When the beach is calling, you escape to Rocky Point for fun and relaxation. And now, when you're tired of paying billionaire corporations those high online booking and service fees, you can escape to Rocky Point Direct. Exclusively Puerto Peñasco, Rocky Point Direct is your new local and low-cost online solution, great for both rental property hosts and visiting guests. Designed by a fellow Rocky Pointer, it supports only this destination we all love. Start keeping more money in your purse or pocket, or have more for treating yourself. Enjoy tacos, tequila, a massage, staying an extra night, or anything supporting this local community which needs us. Isn't it time to say adios, high fees? Create a free host or guest account at the new Rocky Point Direct. Just Google it. Go local with Rocky Point Direct.
Hola, this is Thomas Baldrick, here to talk real-world wants and needs. You want to go to Mexico. We all do. You don't want to be forced into buying Mexican insurance. We all don't. But the fact is, we absolutely need it because it is now required by law. You never want to get into a car accident, but they do happen in Mexico, and they don't come with a text alert. Do you want to risk your vehicle, your body, all your assets, and maybe even your freedom? Trust me, with all that riding, you need to be smart. Do you want to get caught with the wrong policy and a worthless piece of paper you got from some shack on the side of the road because it had a bathroom? Or from a gas station clerk because you also wanted some snacks? That stuff works if you don't have an accident. Come on now, you don't get your full-time car insurance at home from your neighborhood Circle K or 7-Eleven, do you? No. So protect yourself and your future and only buy Mexican insurance from a true expert. A while back, our Sonoran Sun 510 East condo guest wanted my referral for Mexican insurance, so I had to search for one. Guess what I found? Most of the companies I called didn't even answer the phone or return my calls. Imagine that were you in Mexico and you got into an accident or needed roadside assistance. Yes, I was lucky to find Charles Lundy of MexInsurance.com. I use him myself, and I only refer to him. He's been in business for decades. Mex Insurance is licensed and bonded and bilingual. Charles and I have become friends. We talk on the phone, we meet in person. We even did an episode of the Rocky Point Podcast together on what you need to know about Mexican insurance. Before you drive, just log on, get a quote, get the right policy for you, and use the code RP for Rocky Point so they know you are with me. Think about it this way before you go. Would you rather have the right protection and peace of mind with MexInsurance.com but not need it? Or would you rather need coverage from MexInsurance.com but not have it?
Now back to the Rocky Point Podcast.
It was not one of the thousands of people who are Barb's dog rescue angels. It was angels, all right, but they were from another chapter. Meet some members from the Barb family of Avondale, Arizona. Jose, the father, and standing next to him, the son who he is so proud of. That is Aiden. Now, let's listen to my talk with them at their home. Tell the story. How did you find her?
We were driving by and we saw her. And we found her resting under a sign, giving barely any shade. So my dad U-turned and we decided to take her. But since we barely knew the dog, it wasn't our dog, we had to kind of sneak her past the border. And we took her. We kept her there for a week because we didn't really think that we were going to find the owners again. So we groomed her. They cut her hair, they washed her, and just for precautions, we gave her the vaccines and everything, which that gives them the paper to travel. So we gave them a whole different name, or her.
What did you think, sir, when you saw her?
Hablo muy poquito inglés. Pregúntale a él si quiere.
Se translate en español.
Pues no sé, está increíble porque ahora la encontramos abajo, tú sabes, de la sombra del sign. Y pues la miramos, ahí estaba echada.
It's just incredible that she was alive and everything. She was just under the sign. We didn't know how many days she was there.
What do you think would have happened to her if you didn't?
I hate to admit it, but she probably would have been eaten by a coyote, bitten by a spider, scorpion, and anything deadly like that.
There were so many people looking for this little dog, and when we didn't hear anything, we thought the worst.
Well, she got lucky. She let us approach her, but she was kind of uncomfortable, so she would just move. She would kind of move. That's when we all got out and we all tried getting her calmly. We weren't like running after her because we didn't want her to get scared and eventually run off farther into the desert.
Okay.
So,
¿No? Y también dile que cuando la encontramos, que quiso salir corriendo y casi la agarraba un carro.
oh yeah, so she was across where the rest stop was. So when you tried getting her, she ran across. A Jeep almost got her.
So what was it like giving her back to the owner? Because I understand she offered for you to keep her.
Well, it's because we already have other 3 dogs and they're big responsibilities. They don't look like much, but they are. And we just couldn't take in another dog. We were going to find her a shelter for someone else. And or maybe keep her, but we weren't sure at the time. So we just preferred to give her back to the owner.
Okay. How do you feel about doing this?
Well, we feel good because we saved the dog's life. After speaking with the Barbas, I walked outside to the car to catch Lisa and her mother before they were ready to take Milagra to see her sister and then to her forever home.
The other they don't even bark, you know?
No, they're playing because their tails are wagging and all.
Oh,
Rita says, I'm queen. What are you doing?
What was this like, honestly?
Well, I don't want to start crying because when we went out when we found out that she was lost, I couldn't leave right away from Tucson because I had all my grandkids. So as soon as I farmed them out, my husband and I went to the rest stop, and Border Patrol was there, and they said, this is a dangerous area. There's no cell service. Please don't go too far. Do you have water? All that. So we hiked around. We couldn't. The gentleman that was transporting her said she went up over the hill, and it was really like 116 that day. So we went as far as we could. My husband's got Parkinson's, so I was really worried about him because he was really determined to look in all the culverts. We were looking under the trees, and just the whole way home I cried because I figured that the coyotes got her. And then a wonderful lady called me, and she said, I think I can get an airplane if we can get over the area. And then she called back and said it's a no-fly zone, so that's not going to work. We contacted Border Patrol about taking our side-by-side out there the next morning, and they said okay, but to call the Organ Pipe Monument or whatever it is, and they said no way. It's a federally protected area. You can walk in only. So another group had gone out, and they reported back that they found lots of coyote prints, coyotes, that the outlook was probably that she probably didn't make it. And so all I could do is think, I hope it was quick.
And if it wasn't the coyotes, it would be the heat.
The heat was horrible. Yeah, the heat was horrible, and there was no water out there.
Right. Did you meet her at Barb's?
I did.
Okay, so tell me about that.
So my dad wanted to get my mom a dog. They lost their dog a while ago, and he decided that they were ready for a dog. So we had been looking online, and I told him, look at Barb's because there's some really wonderful dogs. And, what I've heard is they just make great companions. So we looked through, and we saw her sister. She wasn't online yet. Her sister's name is Raina. And my dad said, oh, I really like that little dog. And I said, you know what? I have to take some supplies down for cleaning to Rocky Point. So we're going to make us an early trip and we'll just go check her out. And so we were playing with Raina and I'm like, oh yes, I think this is the dog. Her temperament's great. And then, so I was kind of looking, we had 4 dogs for a long time, and within a year and a half, they all passed away. So it's been a couple years, and we decided that we were ready to have another dog, and they brought out Cecile. And they said, this is her sister. And I thought, if she's anything like Raina, I said, I'd like to adopt her. And they said she wasn't ready yet. So a great gentleman said he would bring her to Tucson. And then, it wasn't his fault. It just, things happened and she got away from him. So
it was a potty break, right?
it was a potty break, he said. And he said she went potty and he went to put her back in the car and she had like a panic attack kind of thing and got away from him. And he said that he chased her as far as he could. And he went right to the organ pipe office and told them. We called Border Patrol. I mean, he was wonderful and it wasn't his fault. I know when I called him yesterday that she was found, you could just hear in his voice. He was almost like crying, like, oh my God, I can't, thank you for calling.
I, every day, wanted to call you. And then I thought, I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. I'm not going to walk into that because no news has got to be bad news.
That's what I thought, yeah. The wonderful rescue here in Phoenix, Heart, she had sent me some flyer to print out. So I thought, well, it can't hurt. So we printed out about 20 and we ended up putting up about 15, but I put like 4 at the rest stop. And then some on the mile markers coming to and from. And that's how they found my number. On the way back, they decided to stop. Thank God, or we wouldn't have even known.
How kind were they to
Oh,
her?
gosh.
Tell me about that.
They went to Mexico for a week. They took her with them. They took her to the vet for a checkup to make sure she was okay. They gave her all her shots just in case. They even had her groomed. And so when they told me all that, I thought, well, they've spent more time with her than I have. So I told them if they would like to adopt her, I would contact Barb's, and I thought that she would, be a great fit for them. They obviously were very kind and attached to her, but they said, no, thank you, but we appreciate it.
I mentioned to you last night, Lisa, you've got your husband's condition. We've just gotten past COVID. You've lost pets. These kind of stories, it's like we need them.
My son called me today before we went to get him for the airport, and he said, oh my gosh, your voice sounds so much better. I wonder why you're so happy. Haha. So it was uplifting for me. Yeah, I hope it's kind of a little thing to make all of us feel better.
What is her new name, and what do you think about those type events, miracles?
I said a lot of prayers when we found out she was lost, so I think that there's a divine intervention and things kind of come together the way they're supposed to. And I'm going to rename her Milagra for a miracle. Because I think it's just a miracle. Everything came together, and she couldn't have found better people that rescued her. They were just amazing people. So I'm kind of in shock, like, oh my gosh, this amazing little dog.
Kind of hot.
You get hot?
Yes, hers get.
So listen, as we wrap up this episode, I don't know where you are in life. I know life has been hard for a lot of people, present company included. But I hope this story gives you a powerful reminder that you can always have hope and you can always keep going. And quitting is a choice. It is an option, but not the only one. And finally, I think I have to ask you, if you are touched by this story, to remember Barb's Dog Rescue. There are a number of ways you can support, from picking up food at the Why Not Travel store and taking it across the border and down to the rescue, to stopping by and volunteering, playing with the dogs, helping at feeding time, of course, making a donation, buying a t-shirt, and last, but certainly not least, taking home 1, 2, or 5 of these dogs and making them part of your family and giving them a loving forever home. As always, thank you for being with us. I'm Thomas Baldrick. Adios, friends. We'll look for you again next time, and it better be from air conditioning, on the Rocky Point Podcast.